My name is McAuley. I'm a professor of digital economy here at the University of Nottingham and one of the directors of Horizon, which is a multidisciplinary institute looking at the digital economy. So one of the challenges we face as researchers, and everyone faces at every job, is how are we measured? What is success? And one key criteria for success in the academic world right now is a process called REF, which looks to evaluate the UK's research outputs every 5, 6, 7 years. It's a bit random when it seems to happen. And that is done on a disciplinary basis, units of assessment they're called. That looks for world-leading research, and being done on a disciplinary basis promotes an attitude towards we've got to make sure we serve the discipline. And interdisciplinary papers are always perceived, whether rightly or wrongly, as falling between posts in this system. So while we have government, we have the funding agencies, we have industry crying out that the world's biggest problems need interdisciplinary approaches, we have put in place a system which is not sending the right messages. If we truly believe that, and that's where we think we should do the investment, then somehow we need to change that measuring system, because I think it was Hewlett-Packard, one of the Hewlett-Packard founders, who said, what you measure is what you get. So by measuring on a disciplinary basis, we're biasing people naturally towards that. As I say, whether it's intended to do that or not, that's the result. One of the key challenges in building up this interdisciplinary work is understanding. It's one thing for politicians or funders to say, this challenge clearly needs interdisciplinary working. The challenges are often easy to state, how shall we improve healthcare? There you go, there's a nice simple challenge. Anyone can come up with challenges. The question is, a good research proposal is one that says, here are ideas of how we're going to solve this. Here is the methodology we're going to use to actually determine whether this idea works, whether it's effective. And when we do interdisciplinary work, we have to say, and there are research outputs for all the disciplines involved. So if I decide to work with, say we look at a mental health application, that might want to look at people's language use and how they use language and understand whether that's a symptom of a degeneration in their condition, or if someone's trying to manage their condition, how can their use of language be used? And that requires linguists, and at one level requires computer scientists. And I have to ask the question, there may be lots of linguistic research there may be a lot of medical research there, but am I just being asked to write some software? Am I just, here's 25,000 quid, please write us an app and a service? Because that gives me no research output. So a challenge often is to find the research outputs that actually, for each discipline within the given challenge and within the suggested approach to how to solve the challenge. So besides the research challenges we might face, one of the other challenges we face is simply the language we use. And here I don't mean whether we speak foreign languages, I simply mean that even in using English, the words that we use mean different things in different disciplines. I've recently been doing a lot of work around trust in the Internet of Things, and a computer scientist might approach this from the point of view of trusted computing, trusted processor module, all sorts of technical means by which you might build a system that had a greater assurance that it couldn't be hacked or would misbehave. On the other side of this, people would define trust as a human belief in whether a system will do a given thing, and that human belief is not based on any evaluation of the technical means, because most people can't do that. So when we look at devices that are coming into our homes in the Internet of Things, if this device does a surprising thing, it captures some data and uses it for something you weren't expecting, that will actually reduce your trust in the system. And here, it's not about, the system could be as secure as anything, but if the company's doing something with your data you don't like, then you will not trust this system anymore. You don't know what it's doing. And that's why it's very different in other disciplines. The definition of trust via human belief and understanding of what the system will do, not just the technicalities of how it works. So I always like to use the analogy here, and it applies in data protection as well, of food supply. So you could wander out into a field or a wood and pick some mushrooms and decide you would eat them, and you might have some due concerns that this may well poison you. If you go to a supermarket and buy some off the shelf, you trust that the system is not providing these poisonous foods. And that's because we have around it consumer protection, all sorts of regulation about how things can be delivered to us. So in the food supply chain, we trust, and it's very important we trust the food supply chain. Actually, I would say that those mechanisms that we have in food supply, there's lessons there for privacy and data protection. And in the other realm, which is perhaps some of these toxic services should simply not be permitted, even if you're willing to sign a contract or terms and conditions that say this company can do X, Y, Z with your data, because there wasn't really a contract there. You didn't really understand what you were getting into. And how can there be trust if there's no meeting of minds, is the legal phrase. Advice for students, perhaps thinking of interdisciplinary courses, moving on to interdisciplinary research for a PhD. It's what industry's crying out for. And one of the key things to understand is the vast majority of students and PhD students end up in industry. Academia is for a very small percentage of them. And so, if you want to maximize your career opportunities, you may be well advised to do exactly what industry says, which is, we need broader skills. We need a broader understanding of challenges rather than simply a very deep understanding of one particular area. I think there are certainly lots of scientific and technical areas where we need the deep expertise as well. But there are plenty of jobs out there for the translators who work across groups, who work with highly technical people as well as business people, as well as, marketing to get the message across to people. I mean, these require understanding of people and psychology, sociology, why do things happen, as well as technical matters as well. And actually, we need more of those translators. There's a particular angle to this, I would say, that comes about in the sort of the computing context. There's been much made of teaching everyone to program. And it's like, even as a computer scientist, I go, well, not clear that that's actually what we need. What we could do with is a much larger percentage of the population understanding what digital systems can do for them. So, for example, I recently had a workshop where a colleague from, I'm going to say, I think it was the British Library, basically was tearing his hair out saying, what I need is archivists who understand what digital technology can do for archives. They don't need to be able to program these archives. They need to know what these systems can do, because you can always go and find some computer company that will write the software for you, or some enthusiastic open sources who would do it. It's understanding that they can ask the question that they want digital archives, which is more important. So these understandings of what the different disciplines can bring are very important, and building those bridges is just as important as driving forward the individual disciplines by themselves.